Hi, I'm Karen.
I'm Leah.
And we're on our Chewing the Cud Halton Farms podcast. Today, I want to talk about a massive subject, which is food security. This is something that really scares me and worries me. Are we food secure in this country? There's a lot of stats, there's a lot of things out there. I don't know all the numbers. I see it very simply. Don't know about you, Leah. You've probably been more academic than me. You've probably done a bit of research about this.
I have done, and the reason why I had to do research is because I don't know a lot about this topic, and that's probably a bit of a worry because I'm the next generation and this is our future, and the stats are quite shocking and I didn't know, and maybe this is something that needs to be put out there and educated.
A podcast about life on a Cheshire dairy farm.
I suppose there's an element, because it is so important that we are food secure. Probably people don't want to talk about it, or certainly not more official people and people in the government. I know the farming industry is talking about it all the time because it's down to us to feed people.
Yeah.
So I know, I always knew the figure of there's 6 billion people in the world.
Yeah.
I think that's what we predicted. Do you know what we're predicted to have in 2050?
Yeah. So by 2050, there's going to be, they've estimated 10 billion people. So from now, that's about 2-3 billion in 25 years. So that's a huge increase in quite a short amount of time.
How, if we're struggling now sometimes to feed people, or people are struggling to get food, how by 2050 do we feed that many people? That is frightening.
Yeah.
And it's not even just feeding people, it's about them having the right balance of food and nutrition and protein and what they need to survive and what children need to grow on. That's the key to it. Because if we get short, it's not going to be about not getting hold of food. That's scary enough. It's whether we can get hold of the right food.
Yeah.
So at the moment, for me, food security, the way I see it and what it means to me is being in farming all the time, we're losing land. So as a country, we're starting to lose land in the way that we've got to be more carbon neutral, and we want to get to this carbon neutral position in so many years, and carbon's huge, and it is a huge thing. We've got to be sustainable. We've got to be friendly to the planet, but people are still building houses because the population's growing. So some of those houses are getting built on productive land, and they are. And as much as people say, no, they're not. No, they are. They're building housing estates round us on fields where we've grown maize and we've grown grass to feed cows. So houses are getting built on productive land. Then also now we've got all these, because the money has been taken away from us, which was called a single farm payment, which was there because we get poor prices and we want to keep food prices low. The government paid us money as farmers to produce food, not necessarily to produce it cheaper, but to give us extra money every year. They gave us a little prop-up payment to help us produce that food, because you don't make big margins in producing food. You just don't. It's not there. So the government have now started to phase that out, and they're taking that away, and they're replacing it with incentives that if we grow flowers, if we do what they call bigger buffers around the edges of the fields to encourage wildlife and butterflies, and put more hedges in and put loads of trees in, which we all want. We want our soils to be as healthy and as natural as possible. The reason we use a lot of pesticides, chemicals, or we use artificial things to help us produce food has all been driven by wanting cheaper food and more of it. So we've had to put things in, we've had to do things and use fertilizers or artificial fertilizers to get the best out of that land as cheaply, to get the best growth as quickly and cheaply as we can. So So when they start now to come to us and say, right, okay, here you can have some money. So take that area of field out of production and grow trees on it, or use it for wildflowers or for bird feed, or that area of land goes out of production. Yeah, we get a payment to do that. But what happens? We lose that productive land. People are rewilding, so no longer do we grow food on the rewilding land. Then the other thing we've got coming down the line is carbon credits. So people, building companies, are approaching farmers and saying, we'll pay you so much money. So for like, say, 100 acres, we'll give you £1 million for 10 years for you to put biodiversity on that 100 acres that we buy off you to offset one of our building projects. So that's productive land again, where cows will have been grazing, or we've grown a food source to feed a cow. That land will go out of production for 10 years. And some people are talking of 80-year deals and bigger deals. Then other people are putting, wind turbines aren't such a massive problem because you can kind of graze around wind turbines, I suppose, but solar panels. So instead of on roofs, they're going on acres and acres of field. And some of them, I know you can graze sheep around them, but they wouldn't be any good for growing a crop or for grazing cows round. So again, we're taking that land out of use. So at which point does that balance become a negative that we haven't got enough area and we have to rely on imports? We already, I don't know, you've looked it up. How much food do we import?
Yeah, 48% of our food is imported.
So that means we produce 52% of our food.
And some of that will be exported.
Yeah. And some of that, exactly. Some of that we do export as well. So we're importing. What if we can't import? So when we have a drought or we have extreme weather conditions, rain, water, we flood, some of that land gets flooded and isn't productive. All these other countries on the planet go through exactly the same thing, and some of them go through it a lot worse than what we do. So when their food gets short, they're not going to send it to the UK. They're going to let their own people starve. They're going to feed their own people first. So salads. So if we talk about, salads coming from Spain, all the salad stuff, they struggle for water, and it's a known thing in Spain. So when they get a real drought, either the food will start to die, or what's left, they'll just feed themselves and send us what they've got left, if they've got anything left.
We are very privileged in what we have access to, but if we were self-sufficient, we wouldn't probably have access to those things. I think that's the future. So I think we need to shift our expectation of what we able to get hold of.
The worrying thing is it's easier to not miss something if you've never had it. But the problem is we've had it, and then to take it away, that's the difficult part. How do you do that? If you've never experienced, you don't miss what you didn't have.
No.
But we've had it. I remember growing up, I didn't have strawberries on a trifle at Christmas.
No.
You just didn't.
No.
It wasn't.
It was seasonal.
Available. It was seasonal, and it's what you could get hold of, and that's what my mum cooked with.
Yeah.
And I've got to say, growing up, I probably ate. Well, I did. I know I did. I ate a much healthier, balanced diet than I eat now, because ready meals, you didn't get them. My mum cooked, and she cooked with whatever was in season.
Yeah.
She cooked with local food. She'd go into town and she'd buy vegetables from the vegetable shop and fruit. Yeah. And then she'd go to the fishmongers, buy fish and buy meat from the butchers.
Yeah.
And it was all fairly local stuff.
Yeah.
So that I've grown up with that. I was taught to cook like that.
Yeah.
But then when these alternatives of fast food chains and supermarkets opened up, it all just became so much easier. So to now take that away, there'll be people out there that can't cook because they've never had to. So that will be a massive problem. And then the other thing is the price of it. That to me, people need to be paid properly to produce food. People go on strike, the doctors, the junior doctors, the teachers, the train drivers. Yeah, I get it. They all strike. They want paying properly. We all deserve to be paid properly. But without food, without us growing food and having food, you won't be striking because everybody will be dead.
Yeah.
You know, or if anything, the health service will be under even more pressure because people can't get a proper diet or a balanced diet.
Yeah.
And they're not getting nutrition. You've read something. So you went to the Agricultural and Horticultural Board, didn't you? Which is AHDB.
Yeah.
Which is something that we pay a levy to when we make milk, basically, and we sell it. We have to pay a levy to them. You've looked up some information on there about food security, or what is food security?
Yeah, so their definition is food security exists when all people at all times have physical, social and economic access to sufficient, safe and nutritious food that meets their dietary needs and food preferences for an active and healthy life.
And I think to a point we're massively under threat of that.
Yeah.
I think that is under threat.
And also with the population increase, we've got to feed more people.
Yeah. And we've got, that coupled with feeding more people.
Yeah.
I think the other thing about money, the problem there for me with money is that we've got things like war going on. So we've got to remember, so there's Russia, there's Ukraine, there's the Chinese keep getting a little bit shaky. There's Japan going up. There's so many things out of our control and so many things govern where we get that food from. And then we've got the trouble in the Suez Canal. So now the Americans are bombing, is it not the Houthis, I forgot what you call them. The Houthis or something. Anyway, they're people that keep going into the Suez Canal and around that area. And basically they're pirates just robbing the ships, and they're stopping the food production, or the food getting through, and then what happens then is these ships have to go a longer route round to get to us, which then puts extra costs on. So again, we're relying on food getting to us, but now somebody in the world has decided to hijack those ships and cause a load of problems, which is nothing to do with little old us in the UK. Well, it is now, because I think we're backing the Americans. So here we go again. That'll push up wheat prices. It'll push up all our input costs. And we're talking about food. We're talking about something that without it, we can't live.
Yeah.
I will hasten to add, and here's a little plug. Raw milk is one of the only things in the world. Now, it might be the only thing, but if it's not the only thing, it's one of very few things in the world that can keep you alive with no other food. It's got to be raw. You can't process it. But you can drink raw milk for very, very long periods of time and stay alive. You couldn't do that with water. You couldn't do that with Red Bull. You couldn't do it with coffee. You couldn't do it with many, many things. I think if you went on a tomato diet or a grape diet or a smelly cabbage diet, I don't know, eventually I think you'd die. But milk holds so many nutritious things in it, and it's so balanced in nutrition and enzymes and nutrients that you can actually survive on it.
Yeah. Some days I do think I survive off Red Bull.
Some days what?
I think I do survive off Red Bull, but anyway.
That's really badly.
I know, it's really
ever
bad.
do that. It's vile.
It's the only thing that keeps me awake.
Yeah, but it's expensive.
Yeah, but coffee, no. Anyway, we're going off topic.
That's so bad.
The other thing I was going to say about was the fact that the land being used for agriculture, that provides jobs and manure for arable crops. And if we're going to have an increase in population, those people are going to need a job.
Yeah.
And there's always jobs in agriculture.
Yeah, Tata Steel today have announced that it looks like they're going to close down if the government doesn't rescue them. And there's going to be 2,800 redundancies. Most of those people living in Port Talbot. Now, for some of those people, and I know for the farming industry around there, that could be a positive because there are farms around there that struggle for labour. So some people could swap over industry. I don't think they'd ever be as well paid as they've been in Tata Steel because we just don't have that money in our industry to do that.
Yeah.
But there would be opportunities and jobs out there if they wanted to switch careers. But what happens to the rest of those people? So it's a massive problem. But regardless of not having a job, yeah, you got to pay for your food. But what I'm saying is there won't be any food there if we're not careful. And again, you know, Jacob Rees-Mogg, what a moron Jacob Rees-Mogg you are. Let's bring some Australian beef in. So we're going to fly beef halfway across the world that we don't have any control over how it's produced. They still use hormones legally to grow beef in Australia. That's something we stopped doing over 30 years ago. I can't imagine injecting an animal with a hormone growth. And again, that's why they can bring it cheaper to here, because they're injecting it with something that makes those animals grow far quicker than what they should grow. I mean, downright, it should be blooming illegal to do things like that. So, but he thinks we should fly it. I mean, again, you're talking about carbon footprinting and sustainability, but it's okay to fly meat halfway around the world. What? I don't get it. And if those people are running our country and saying things like this, but not saying it should start at home, and we need to be secure at home, and we need to make sure these industries work, I find it really scary. So for me, food security is scary.
It's also scary when people aren't educated. It's not their own fault. It's probably to do with schools and whatever, but in what is good food and where the food comes from and why you might pay a little bit more for something that's home grown.
Yeah.
That's I don't think people are always choosing to go with something from abroad. I think it's just an educational thing.
I think there's too much. If you walk into a supermarket, there's way too much choice and variety. Yeah. And it's also not labelled all the time where it's from. So I know Morrison's have started to do something where they're putting a section in for British produced food. Yeah. So you do have a choice whether I think there's still people that if it was the sake of a few pence difference in price or a bit more expensive, they'd find that few pence to go and do it.
Yeah.
And I think more supermarkets need to follow suit. I don't think we need 10 different varieties of tomato ketchup, probably.
No.
Or 15 varieties of olive oil. Because if we didn't do that, the choice wouldn't be there. So people wouldn't miss it. We just need some quality products that are reasonably priced, that are healthy.
Yeah. Price, I suppose, all comes down to the production cost, doesn't it, of the farmer and getting paid a fair price, which isn't.
Okay, so obviously somebody's come to the door. Thanks, Doris. You might have to get off your chair, Doris, and go and see what's going on.
Roll off the chair.
Yeah, roll off the chair. You being the guard dog, you're the last one out. Great. Yeah, so I think for me, we need to support, and it sounds so bad because I'm a farmer, so I'm going to say this. We need to support the food production in this country first and foremost, or else we've got three dairy farmers a day leaving the industry at the moment because they can't make the figures stack up. That's really frightening in that they won't come back.
Yeah.
Some of them will be doing it. Probably they might be very good farmers and they can't make the figure. They can make the figures stack up, but there's a better option for trading the land in for biodiversity. You know, if you're going to get £1 million for 100 acres for the next 10 years, and you don't have to get up at 4 a.m. and go out on the yard in a freezing cold day. I don't know. Would I do that? I'm 54. I probably wouldn't do it. If I was 60, 64, I'd probably be snatching somebody's hand off.
Yeah. But this comes down to money, doesn't it? That's the thing.
There's getting less of us.
Yeah.
And less of us that can stick with it. You training to be a vet, you're going to qualify in 4 years now.
Yep.
Okay. Are those clients going to be there?
Yeah. And that's just dairy we're talking about. That's not the rest of the agricultural industry.
So just in our sector, yeah, okay, there'll probably still be the same amount of cows or roughly because whoever's left will just get bigger.
Yeah.
But that's less clients for your practices, your veterinary practices to share. And a lot of big places have their own on-farm vet.
Yeah, they do, yeah.
If they've got a lot of cows, they just have a resident vet. So there's another knock-on effect to really think about.
Yeah. It's way beneath the surface. It's like the iceberg.
It's the tip of the iceberg, and it's all underneath. But until we get the governments to take it more seriously and back it, I can't see it changing. We just don't have that backing as an industry, unfortunately. And until the problem is with our government, I think what happens, or governments, from what I can see, is once it's happened, they're not very preventative. They're more reactive.
Yeah.
Things happen and things disappear. The coal mining disappeared. Looks like the steel industry is disappearing. The shipbuilding industry disappeared. There's so many industries that we've lost in this country that we're already not self-sufficient for. Now they're going to take food away. They're going to take food away if we're not careful.
We also waste a lot of food.
We waste loads of food, and that's a really good point. And again, I think that is because food is so cheap. It's so easy to get hold of. And there's so many, I do it. I'll go into a supermarket, buy one, get one free. Think I'm getting an amazing deal, or is it 3 for 2? Pick it up, take it home. Date goes on it before I get to eat it all.
Yeah.
And I've not been greedy. I think I've been shrewd because I've bought things and then I've not frozen something because I'm like, oh no, I've got it now. I'll eat it tomorrow. Then something happens tomorrow and you're busy and you don't end up eating. And then the next day it's out of date.
Yeah.
And there's too much of that being pushed on us, or something's cheap that week, so you buy double because it's cheap.
Yeah.
And then you stick it in the freezer and totally forget you've even got it if you're not careful. That can happen. And I just don't think, and then if you are buying cheap things and they do go out of date, you end up just throwing it away. So did you say how much food do we throw away?
1.3 billion tonnes a year, which is about a third of the food produced. So of all the food produced, a third of it. That's massive.
Incomprehensible to me. And we're saying we've got people that are starving or can't afford food and have to go to food banks. But we're still throwing that away. What a waste of money. So if we balanced that better and got it right, would it be, and took a lot of those choices away for all those different varieties and things, would it be that we would be throwing far less food away? And that food's got to go somewhere. So it's got to go into a big hole, or, we've still got the plastic on it that we've produced and wrapped things up that we wouldn't have needed to use.
Yeah.
So that would be less plastic or rubbish to get rid of. I don't know. As an industry as well, as a dairy industry, we do feed pretty much everything really as a byproduct of the food industry in some shape or form, whether it be producing whiskey or, I don't know. We even, when Robert's Bread, I think it was Robert's, did that no crust bread. The crusts came in massive lorries for us to feed to the cows. Over the years, we've fed them oranges.
Yeah.
So the oranges have been squeezed to make orange juice, and then the pith and the skin come here and it gets chopped up in the feeder wagon with all the food.
Yeah.
There's loads of stuff, bruised grains.
People don't realise that.
No.
I think they think we're using like resources that can be used in other industries, almost like we're taking it away from humans, but it's not. It's using what we're not using.
Yeah.
And just to plug quickly, on our TikTok page, there is a video that shows the ways in which we're sustainable. And I couldn't even fit them all in one video.
Really?
There's lots of points that come up on the video. So if anyone wants to go and search for that, that's on the TikTok page, Halton Farms. Just a little plug.
No, but it's great. I mean, we do take all this really seriously, and we want to be as sustainable as we possibly can. My other thing I would say, just buy local as much as you possibly can. Don't eat imported beef. Don't eat imported food that we grow here. We produce perfectly good, tasty, healthy beef, lamb, pork, chickens. We can produce it, eggs, all these fish, sometimes you're okay fish for different fish. We have to have stuff from abroad, but there's so much of the food, milk. We produce enough milk. Yeah. We don't need to import it from anywhere. We don't need to be buying milk in. Make sure when you go and get it that it's something that's produced in the country, or at least close to where you live, if you can afford it.
I was going to say as well, I used to get the boxes delivered like the Gusto or the HelloFresh boxes, right? And they're brilliant because you save a lot on waste because you've only got what you need for those meals. It's good for one person or two or whatever. But I noticed in their boxes, a lot of the meat, if not all of the meat, is from abroad. And it really put me off because but it's so convenient because they're targeting people that are busy or, you know, want to cut down on food waste, or it's convenient, you don't have to go food shopping. But I just thought, why are they not working with our British producers?
So they're doing that and they want to keep it as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
So a way to do that is to use imported food.
Yeah. But so many people subscribe to those services and there's no I know they're trying to keep it cheaper, but really they should be supporting it. If those aren't even supporting it, how can we get the people?
Do you know, it goes so far for us that even when we feed our calves, we even make sure that we only use British made powders. You know, and we work with companies, they're actually British companies, if we can and where we can. And don't get me wrong, we don't compromise any calf health over it. But luckily, we can use powder that's made in Great Britain. I would...
Even that's a byproduct, isn't it? The dairy, because it's skim or whey.
Yeah. So that's another byproduct we use, which is a perfectly good, healthy, great product.
Yeah.
The list is endless.
Yeah,
Tom's a good one to talk to about it because he's mega passionate. We use soya. And we use something, it's called reasonably sustained soya or something, or protected or something. We use that. It costs us more to use it, but ethically we want to do that. And anything with palm oil in, we're the same. We only use certificated stuff where we can. But that is, again, it's all come from some form of food that's been made for humans. Yeah. Whether it's that juice that you drink, soya juice. Yeah. Because it's not milk, it's juice. We need to remember that. Whether it's that you've drank, and for you to be able to do that, we've had the leftovers to feed to the cows, or else what would happen with your leftovers? Yeah. You'd make all those cartons of juice and all that leftover would have to go into landfill. Yeah. We've got to get rid of it somehow. So we put it through a cow who produces food in a really sustainable way. It's a bit like they eat grass. I don't know. The other thing, and I don't know a lot about this, but I'm getting to grips with it and I'm going to do a bit more research on it. If the land shrinks and shrinks, we can't feed that many people in the land to get enough protein into them. The only way of doing it is actually with livestock. So cows convert grass and we get loads of protein from meat and milk. Yeah. So that will be the most, on the cow side, it'll be the same with sheep and pigs and everything. But on the cow side, that's what I know, is that we'll run out of land. We won't be able to grow all these things that we need for humans if we don't have meat and milk in our diet. The only way to do it is to use livestock to do it. Yeah. To use animals. And it would end up being the most sustainable way. And I think when people criticise farming in all of this stuff about the planet and climate change and sustainability, we are not actually the problem. We're actually the solution. Yeah. When you start looking into it, we are actually the solution in being able to feed everybody and keep them alive and keep them healthy. That's the main thing, is to keep people healthy. Yeah.
You can paint anyone as a baddie, can't you?
Well, lots of people do, but when we look at the bigger picture, as we're starting to run out of land, it is going to be the only way forward.
Yeah. I think people also forget a lot of land can only be used for grazing.
Yeah, there is that as well.
Can't always be used for...
Yeah, a lot of fell land and places where we graze sheep.
Yeah. Any last words, comments?
Think about food security, because even though everybody, like the government, probably aren't talking about it a lot, because there'll be a lot of stuff they don't want you to worry about. But as a farming industry, we are very, very aware of it. Think about it, look up, read about it, draw your own conclusions. But try please try buy local, support British food and local food. And only if you're going to use a supermarket, only use the supermarkets that support British farming and support British produce.
Yeah.
Would be what I would say.
Very good.
Chewing the Cud at Halton Farms.
Remember, if you like to hear us chewing the cud at Halton Farms, like and subscribe. We're available on all your favourite podcast platforms. You can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, TuneIn and YouTube.
Thank you for listening.